Hey, your internet didn't blur out when we started recording. Look at that.
I know. It's almost like I have my wireless modem right here beside my computer. Look at this fancy contraption.
Hashtag Starlink.
Hashtag Starlink.
Wait, it's wireless as in you're still not hardwired to your computer?
No, I need to buy a $250 adapter to plug into the back of this for an Ethernet plug.
They're like Apple, where they create the problem and sell
proprietary.
you the solution.
Yep.
That's genius marketing, Starlink. Good job on you.
Thanks, Daddy Elon, up there in the stars.
Hey everyone, I'm Brad from Calgary.
This is Sean from Cambridge, Ontario.
I'm Terry from Cornwall, Ontario.
Hey, this is Larry from Pitt Meadows, British Columbia, and you're listening to the Towing Life Podcast.
Welcome to the Towing Life Podcast, where the ditches are deep, the trucks are loaded, but the drivers are not. I am your host, Towman G. As usual, I'm joined by my co-host, friend, and former co-worker, the man with very strong opinions, Mr. Plain Guy.
What is going on, G? What is going on?
It's been a day. My dog is a little frustrated, per se, for being in here. There's a birthday party going on upstairs, and all her dog friends are up there. So if she does make a bit of noise during this episode, I do apologize. I'll try to mute my mic and yell at her. If she gets too bad, I'll give her a spleen kick.
No, do not say that on the show. It's so funny, spleen kicks. It's a personal joke from when G and I used to work together. Yeah, spleen kicks definitely were efficient and effective. Yeah, no, you're right. It's been a month, but it's also been 139 episodes. So the fact that you still have yet to nail that down, or you have moments where you fumble with it, is a little concerning.
I was going to edit it out. They wouldn't even know. Well, now that you said that, now I got to edit that out. Now I'm going to have to edit this out. You're just making an editing nightmare for me.
Well, that is part of my job, is to increase the workload that you have to make you earn your keep within the show.
Oh, thanks, man. Greatly appreciated.
So as you said, welcome to another episode of the Towing Life Podcast. We thank you for coming back once again this week. We know that last week's episode was a late release. So we're here fresh with some new content, new things coming out. And we actually have quite a bit to get into today, a little bit on the US side of towing, a little bit of guarantees of payment, a little bit of some stories from my personal experience, as well as G on some topics that he did not want to talk about before the show, because he is very much a one-trick pony. And if he says the story once, it's not going to get any better the second time around. So he's a one-shot wonder. So before we do get into all that wonderful thing that we have planned, it is a good time to mention, we always appreciate your questions, comments, concerns for the show. Where do you find us? It's pretty simple. You can head over to our Facebook page, The Towing Life Podcast on Facebook. You can head over to our webpage at www.towinglife.ca. You can email us directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com. And don't forget, if you're watching over on the YouTube side, be sure to hit that thumbs up. Leave your comment down below. We always appreciate the input of, people that are either more opinionated than ourselves, which can be hard at times, or more experienced, less experienced, or any of the above.
I think now, since YouTube is upgraded, if you're watching this on like a desktop, or I think even a phone, when I say, please like this video and subscribe, the subscribe button does a fancy little dance.
Oh,
it
there you
glows
go.
all nice and purple.
There you go.
I'll have to see if that worked. That's why I had to say that.
Don't forget to like and subscribe, and keep the comments and questions coming. We will put together an episode as we go. Normally when we get these comments, whether they be through YouTube, we'll put them together on a show. We'll go over some stuff. So yeah, that is it for me. So you have some interesting questions or stories, or I don't even know what it is you want to talk about today. I am just going to feed off it.
I'm currently just going over to the YouTube just to double check to see if we actually have any comments to talk about. But I met a older gentleman the other last week, I guess it was. It was last Thursday, actually. Today's Sunday of time of recording, just to give you a time frame. And I started talking to this older guy, and he was in the towing industry for 30 years. So we sat there, we talked and shot the shit for about 2.5 hours about towing and bullshit and how it was in his glory days of towing. And he was like, "Yeah, the good old days of towing. I don't know why anyone would get into it now." And I kind of felt like saying to this guy, "It's like, hey, we did a podcast on this not too long ago," but I didn't. I didn't selfish or shameless plug IRL because that's weird. Anyways, so I formed this relationship with the guy. He gave me a contact information for a potential job down the road. So I wrote that down and we exchanged numbers. I didn't think anything of it. He said that he'd be talking to me later, and I just thought it'd be in passing, right? Um, Turns out he called me the next day, so Friday, and he was like, "Hey, I you said you had a trailer to haul your tractors around. How big's your trailer?" It's like, I told him how big my trailer was, and he was like, "I just bought a boat ramp rail thing, and I would need a hand moving it." I was like, "Oh, okay." And he's like, "I'll pay you, I'll pay you." I was like, "Okay, whatever." And I didn't think it was actually going to happen because he still said there was like 8 pieces in the puzzle that he needed to put together. Well, those 8 pieces kind of fell together and apart. And today, Sunday, after only meeting this guy for 2.5 hours, last Thursday, I hook up to my trailer and I take my truck an hour north to pick up this boat ramp thing with him and a couple other people, unbolting it out of this pool house, walking it out with a foot in between the boathouse and the water and rocks, and they're all like 8 foot by 7 foot long pieces. Some of them are 10. They're all like 400 pounds each. Walking them up these stairs because it's a beautiful house that we're pulling it out of, and then loading them all up onto the trailer. And of course, it was pouring rain, like absolutely pouring rain as soon as I get there. And I think to myself, it's like, am I just this dumb? Like, I met this guy because the other kid that was there, he was like, "Oh, so were you used to be his neighbor?" I was like, "No." He was like, "Oh, how do you know him?" It's like, "I met him this past Thursday. I've talked to him for 2 hours, and here
What?
I am."
Where did you meet him? What was this at? Was it like a get together? Was this just like, like?
I was doing a run, and I was sitting there waiting, just eating my lunch until I had to go do another pickup because I've been hauling stuff around. And he pulled up next to me, and he drives a bus, and he started shooting the breeze with me. Just,
Huh?
how people killing time do, just
Yeah, yeah.
striking up a conversation. And yeah, he was talking, and he asked me what I was doing. I told him, and I said, "But I used to tow. Like, I'm not in the industry anymore, in case you didn't know, if that
Yeah.
wasn't abundantly clear."
We're gonna fire him from the show unless he gets back into it very soon, though. Don't
Yeah.
worry.
Yeah, don't worry. I'll just keep wearing the merchandise so you just don't know. Uh, and and then we started talking about all that stuff. So, yeah, it was, I guess, me not being in the industry that kind of like brought
Mhm.
joy to me again. And I had a couple people ask me over the last couple of weeks, "Oh, do you like what you're doing now, hauling stuff around more than towing?" I was like, "No, towing's just like, it's there's nothing else like it that I can like. Nothing comes close to towing."
Mhm.
And they're like, "Oh, well, why don't you get back into it?" And I just got to give them all the fucking bullshit reasons, right?
Yep.
Excuses, whatever you
Yep.
want to call it.
Go through the
Um,
routine.
yeah, but I think, as we call ourselves a brotherhood, what you would do for other towers. Like, when you get on a tow call and some guy says, "Oh, I towed back in the day," and he has no idea about what the industry is or how it works. And you're like, "Yeah, sure you did, bud." But then you meet someone who hasn't been in the industry for a couple years, but he's actually been in the industry. Like this guy who I was dealing with owned his own company for 27 years, I think it was, down in the city.
Mhm.
Like he
So he's
knew
got
a
a
thing
good
or two.
understanding of how
Yeah,
the industry works. It's not just a
right.
guy who I drove tow truck for 3 weeks back in the summer of 1972, right? Like this guy
Exactly.
actually had a beat on, like a pulse on the finger on the
On the
pulse.
industry, right?
Mm,
And like he could teach you a thing or two type thing.
mm.
And I feel like I could just be a nice guy or a dumb guy or an idiot, whatever. But I feel like if he wasn't a tower, I wouldn't have offered my services to help him today, right?
Right, right.
Because we had that connection and we were able to form a quick bond of the industry in a 2.5 hour conversation,
Mhm,
and just how that conversation flowed. If we didn't have that in common, that connection never would have made, and I was never going to be able to help that guy today, right? And I
mhm.
think that's something that we talk about. We can never get together as an industry, which is true, but I think on a personal basis, like an operator to an operator or an owner to an owner, I think it's very easy to come together and work together and form those friendships and bonds and being able to help each other out because of the industry that we work
Well,
in.
I think you're right on that too, but again, I think a lot applies to it in this case, like the fact that you're neither of you are in the industry anymore.
Yep.
Like it's back in the day, if that guy was your competition
Hmm.
or that guy was working out prices to undercut you, all that kind of things, you wouldn't want to give that, you
Yeah.
know, that kind of help to. But the
Hmm.
fact that you both, yeah, absolutely, it's just, it's like two guys that played, sports in college or high school, whatever, like that. You find a common bond off it.
Hmm.
I think that's called like how being friends as an adult is.
Yeah.
Right, it's not as easy as back in the day. On you want to play, yeah, okay. It's you find a commonality and you're willing to help people. Now, you've
Hmm.
always been a person that does like helping people. I think that's what a big push for you in the industry was.
Yep.
So that being said, did he actually pay you?
Oh yeah, he paid me.
Yeah,
He asked
okay.
me how much I wanted, and I told him exactly what I wanted, and
Mm,
here you go.
he obliged. Perfect.
Yep.
Well, sometimes it's not as easy to get paid for jobs as that, right? So
Mm.
consider yourself very lucky. Um, there was a story that I wanted to bring into the podcast. It's actually a 3-part story that we've been running into in our current area. And it's
Hmm.
something that's been talked about. And I know it was a lot to do um, with the ideology behind the day of action that we talked about weeks back,
Mm.
right?
Yep.
The idea that towing companies with new laws are being forced to follow all these procedures, all these practices, but have, no protection built into the industry in the sense of guarantee of payment,
Hmm.
right? So their idea is that they were not doing any calls during that time, that the police ordered unless it was an emergency, as a way of showing their discontent and hopefully work towards a solution.
Yep.
So we did not participate in that set weekend, but we definitely have taken a new approach whenever it comes to calls that we are receiving.
Hmm.
So first example is I get a call from the Ontario Provincial Police, right, for a motorcycle recovery out of a quarry. So a motorcycle was stolen 7 years ago is
Oh.
when it was reported stolen,
Oh.
and it was dumped into a quarry.
Recently, or just
Well,
recently
I think it was
found?
back then. It's just they
Oh, okay.
drained the quarry recently, a section of the quarry, and they found the
Okay.
motorcycle. So
Right.
someone walking their dog, whatever it was, called it in, reported, cop found it. They
Hmm.
called us, so we'd like you to come out and get it.
Yep.
I said, hold on a second. They were telling me, first of all, I'm like, send me some, do you have any photos, what I'm looking at? What kind of
Mhm.
recovery are we dealing with? They sent me the worst photo. They sent me a photo from like across the quarry that makes it look like I'm going to need a rotator and a sea-doo to get the line
Hmm.
out there.
Hmm.
So they send me that. And then, yeah, you're going to need a rotator. You're going to need this. You're going to need this. And I'm like, okay, whoa. Who's paying the bill?
Yeah.
Because I've got a motorcycle that was stolen 7 years ago.
That's been underwater for 7 years,
It's a
probably.
write-off,
Yeah.
right? I have no guarantee of payment.
Mhm.
I am going to send out, the way they made it seemed, I would need my bigger rotator. I'm going to send out a $750,000 to $1 million piece of equipment plus labor to recover this thing. And at
Mhm.
the end of the day, what is a motorcycle worth in scrap metal? Because nobody is going to come forward for this thing.
Yeah. $50 if you're lucky.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the answer was no. It wasn't no, right? I don't like the word no. I like not until we can figure out payment for this item.
Mhm.
So no problem. The police, I explained to them the stance. I said, I want to help you out, but at the same time, I'm not publicly funded,
Mhm.
right? I need to be paid for my services.
Yep.
So I get a call back about an hour later from a
Mhm.
sergeant. And he answers the phone. Hey, this is Sergeant so-and-so. And right away I go, oh, he's not going to be happy about this.
No.
And he goes, here is the insurance company, the policy number, and the registered owner of the bike.
Wow.
And I said, oh, great.
That's
This was
normally the information we have to fight over from them
to get,
if we just show up. Yeah.
100%. So I'm like, oh, wow, that's awesome. Okay, so this was like a Sunday.
Mhm.
I said, all right, well, I'll get on the phone with the insurance on Monday
Mhm.
and see what I can get figured out.
Yep.
No problem. So, and I said, I had his number. I said, I'll keep you up to date with what we have. So I reach out to the insurance company with that claim number I had. Now, it was a fun process
Mhm.
because that claim was from 7 years ago. This person is no longer insured with them.
Yeah.
So we go through all the rigmarole. I'm going to have somebody from my towing and recovery team reach out to you to, validate any invoice or agree to any charges. No problem. So they reach out to me. We settle on a price, a very fair price.
Mhm.
Right. But a price that covers my cost. Now, at this point, once they are interested in the price, because I never went out that night to look at it.
Okay.
It's about an hour away.
Yep.
So I said, once they said, like, yeah, if you can get us a price together for it, we'll see what we can set up. I said, okay, well, now I'll invest a little bit of time into this.
Mhm.
And sure enough, I went out, I took a look at it. We brought the drone with us for giggles. It ended up being off an embankment about 25 feet, but I could get a truck right to the end of it.
Mm.
So like a light duty wrecker could do this job.
Yeah. So instead of a couple of $1,000 bill, it could be $1,000 bill type thing.
Not quite that, but there's travel time and everything else.
Yeah.
And so we come up with a very fair price with the insurance company. They agree. They want it brought to the auction. They ask for a price to get it brought there. We put this all together to them, lay out the bill, prices included, and we go and we recover the unit and we bring it. And there's a check waiting for us, picked up, done. Now,
Beautiful.
it worked beautifully.
Yeah.
We were paid right for our services. The job was done. Now, if I would have jumped the gun and just went and got that, and that bike would have been sitting in my yard collecting storage, it would have been a lot harder to get after the insurance company for it.
Well, yeah, the insurance company then knows, well, the job's already done, because I'm pretty sure the insurance company is still liable for that vehicle.
They are,
that was
because it was
insured.
never recovered. Yeah.
Exactly. If it's sitting in your yard, well, sorry.
Yeah.
It's been recovered. There's nothing holding them accountable per se.
But
anymore.
now that they know the police are involved and the police are wanting it removed,
Yeah.
and all this, it puts a little more pressure on them to do the right thing, which they did, I have to admit. And ironically, as you know, my wife works in the impound in my workplace. She, when I told her who the insurance company was, she was like, good luck. I hate dealing with them. I had a great experience. So I guess just different experiences with it. But we see that problem more and more. We're running into it. Another perfect example. The other night, we got a call from our local fire department for a motorhome that was on fire. Like an RV type, powered motorhome. Yep. And I get there. Cops are all gone. It's just this fire chief there. We're talking. I pull up and he goes, this is a good one. The whole front of this thing, it's like a 1970s or 80s RV. The whole front is burnt. The whole back is fully intact. I go, what's the story? He goes, well, this young lady here bought it off somebody outside of town and called to get it towed to her place, but couldn't afford the tow bill. She was quoted like $1,200 for the tow bill. So she decided to drive it, unplated, uninsured.
Tow it like herself.
And drive it, not tow it. Like
it's an RV, not a trailer.
It's an RV. Yeah. So drives it, no insurance, no plates, takes the risk. Well, on its way, something happens, battery explodes, whatever the story is, and it catches fire. And she pulls into an old commercial property that's for lease right now, and it lights on fire. And the first thing I say is, I'm never going to get paid for this. And he's like, what do you mean? I'm like, well, who's going to pay me for this? Because now it isn't even a fact. He's like, well, can't you get scrap metal? Not for RVs.
No.
RVs are the worst because scrap yards won't take them. You got to pay to dispose of these things. So not only am I going to move it, or you're hoping I'm going to move it and remove it at a cost to my business that I'm not going to recoup. Plus, I'm going to have to put up money to get rid of it so that it's not just sitting around my yard. Yep. That doesn't fly in business. Nope. So again, it becomes, let's see how we're going to get paid. It can stay here tonight. There's no risk. Even if it reignites, it's far. It's in the middle of a parking lot. If any vandalism, whatever, it's not a risk to the property. It's not a risk to anything. So we're going to leave it tonight. We'll talk. We'll figure something out in the morning.
Yep.
Right. Property owner calls us up and says, hey, I want it removed. What's it going to cost? I'll pay the bill. Right? Like, I'll take care of that bill. Cool. Exactly. Now we've moved it. Again, the same problem would happen if you just jump to the gun and pull it and now go, I'm going to go collect off the property owner in the morning. No, you're not.
No.
Because if I'm a property owner and you came on my property, remove this, it's commercial property. And again, I had a long-standing relationship with this property owner. Right? So there might have been, but if it's anyone else, they're not going to go, okay, yeah, I'll pay you for the services that you did that I didn't ask you to do. That you know what I mean? Like, yes, it helps my property out, but I'm not responsible for this. Like, the property owner shouldn't have been responsible for this, the registered owner. And I told him he's more than happy to go after her. Like, if you would like to try and recollect, here's all the information. I gathered that all on scene for you, but somebody's got to pay me for my services. The towing industry is one of the only responses to any of these sort of MVCs, cleanups, fires, any of those things that is not guaranteed payment, right? We've talked about this over and over again. We're the only ones that show up that are not publicly funded and are not guaranteed payment. So you can take stands in little ways to help fix these things, right? Just if another company wants to go get that RV at a loss and pay money to dispose, have at it.
Yep.
Why are we so worried about these jobs? If you explain it in the proper way to the authorities on why, and don't just go over the phone. Like, you can't go, hey, ABC Towing. Yeah, I've got a car that's been in an accident. Well, is it insured? Is it this? Is it this? Is it this? You can't do that. Right? You need to take the steps, attend the scene, assess the situation, explain to the officers if it's something. Now, on a car, it's a different story. A car that hit a box culvert that they're not insured, that you're going to pull out of the ditch with a light duty truck, you should be able to recover most of your costs of scrap value out of that vehicle. Cars are one thing.
But when someone blows the tire on their old 1972 fiberglass boat and they just leave it there sitting on the side of the road, side of the highway, pull their plate off their trailer and rip the tag off their boat and just leave it there, you're not going to get any money out of that.
No.
Right?
No. And like I said, it might end up costing you to dispose. So we ran into the same situation again last night, ironically. Get a call at 1 a.m. All I get is a trailer on fire on the highway. So I go out, I call the officer. I knew the officer that was on scene, and he left a number to call him to assess, right? So I'm on my way out to him. I give him a call. I go, what do you got? Well, it's a camper trailer conversion that he's hauling snowmobile, all this kind of stuff, fully engulfed. I mean, there's nothing left of this trailer. Fully engulfed. No insurance on it.
Of course.
Now, Ontario is weird, though, because the truck pulling the trailer insures the trailer in the case of an accident most times.
Yeah.
But a fire is a little bit different. I don't know if you had, you know what I mean, fire insurance on the trailer. I don't think the truck insurance carries over for that. I'm not sure.
Even if you have fire and theft on the vehicle that's towing it, I'm not sure if that does.
I don't think that carries. I'm not sure. So because of that, when I got on scene, I advised this guy of that. And I said, look, I'm not sure if your insurance is going to cover this. Like, the trailer itself specifically wasn't insured. Right? I understand that you can have insurance through the truck insurance and whatnot. But like it's so here's what my, so I give a breakdown. This is what I'm going to do. I'm going to need this equipment, this equipment, this equipment. I'm going to need it for this many hours tonight to do this job. Plus I'm going to need it for another 2 hours the day that I go deliver this stuff to the landfill. Right. And whether it be, because again, it won't go to scrap steel. It's going to be very hard to see if they take that. So, here's the breakdown. Here's the fee. I last one I did that was similar. It was about this price. So I'm going to charge a flat rate fee for the dumping fee. And if it's a little higher, well, then I'm going to take the hit on that. And here's my price. And he goes, no, I think that is reasonable. I think that is fair. And he paid my bill on the spot.
Perfect.
But how many times are we so quick? And I keep coming back to this point. We're so quick to just go, oh, police called? Okay, do it. Now, it's also one of those very hard times because unless you have road supervisors, unless you have, there's a couple of my drivers that I would trust to make that decision because they don't understand the business side behind it. Right? They understand it of, I get paid for doing the job.
Yep.
And then I look at it and go, yes, you're right. You get paid if you get the job, but how do I get paid? How does the company get paid? Right. So You can't just, could you imagine back when we worked together, us making those decisions on scene? We weren't in a position to do that.
No.
We didn't have the understanding of the business. We didn't have the, you know, the background to
There
make
was
those kind of
times
decisions.
when we would say to officers on scene or even other drivers that we're getting stuck with this. There ain't no way the company's getting paid for this.
100%.
But that's just bullshit. We can't really say, hey, we can't do this because we know the company's not getting paid. But when we also worked together, the industry was completely different 8 years ago to what it is today.
You know what though? The problem with payment within the industry was still the same.
Yeah.
This isn't a new problem.
No.
This stuff being brought forward is just the industry's finally bringing it forward because now they feel like it is uneven to the extent that it needs to be.
Well, there's
addressed.
so many more protections in for the consumer.
Yes.
And there still hasn't been nothing to do for the actual towing industry.
No, exactly. So next time you're doing that police call, or if you do a mix of on road and you've got some, like maybe talk to your guys and come up with something. And what I was amazed is how well it was received among the police. Now, every time I've actually ended up doing the job, right? And to say that I would have never gotten paid without it, you can never guarantee that. The chances of me getting paid without the steps we took were less, much less.
Can you answer me this? I can edit it out if not. Was it local or provincial police?
2 were provincial, 1 was local.
Okay. Yep. So an even mix, fairly.
Yeah. Okay. And the one that was local, it was the fire department I was dealing with, not the police.
Okay.
Right? The police weren't even there. The police, had zero cares about this in the world.
So you're not. Put it up. The reason why I asked that is because you don't carry contracts for provincial police normally. You carry contracts for like regional police or regional police departments. Yeah. So I could see where the police department, let's say, if you're contracted in the city of Toronto for whatever reason, I don't know if they have contracts or not, but you're contracted to Toronto Police and they get this boat and they expect that it gets cleared because they call a towing company and it gets done regardless. And to start bringing this stuff up might, especially when you're just dealing with an officer on scene, they probably were done 2 hours ago and they just want to get the fuck home.
Right.
Now
but again,
you're tying them up on the side of the road.
A car in most of these situations, you can.
Well, I was talking about it like a boat that was abandoned on the highway.
A boat that was abandoned.
The same thing I was talking about earlier. A boat, trailer, no motor. They don't have a motor on. Like, there's no value.
But there's certain things. A lot of times that when you have these contracts with municipal police, with regional police, with there is, you're right, no contract with technically the provincial police, but there is the pilot project in Toronto, which is
kind of
goes along those lines. A lot of times there is options like with our local police, like depending on what the service is, they'll pay for it. Right? Like we run into that. So if we get like a stolen recovered vehicle that they want brought to their ident, they will pay the tow to their ident. They will pass the cost of the tow from ident to our yard plus accumulating storage onto the customer. Right. But they'll cover like, so if there is things like they have had some weird things like a chop shop that got dismantled that we had to go in and pull all kinds of stuff, which pretty much just went into a roll off bin. They will pay for that kind of services. So if you were to get those weird ones, I imagine there's, for the sake of good business, for the sake of whatever there is, protections built into a contract. I would hope. Now with the provincial police, that's actually the tougher part because there is no contract. Right? There is no, like, you can't go bill them.
No.
Right? Like they.
Good luck. I implore you to try.
I have.
Yeah.
We have billed them for certain services that they've requested, right? On certain fatalities and different things like that. You can bill them. But for this car that just, they called you to remove out of the ditch, you ain't billing them for that. They're not going to pay that bill.
No.
So it really becomes a tougher one because there's no kind of contracts put in place for that kind of stuff. So if it's something that's not impeding traffic, right? We've seen it. I've seen trailers left on the side of highways in certain parts of the country, right? Because they want to guarantee payment. And it's the same thing. We're seeing brand new units abandoned in our yard, brand new transports, 2023s, because they weren't insured. And they got into a wreck, right? That is a huge thing. I know it is. It was a big debate in the towing industry for a long time, was holding on to cargo, right? If I get a tractor trailer that rolls over and we recover it with the cargo and the unit comes back, the first thing they want is the cargo.
Yeah.
Because the cargo is the value, and they have requirements they need to meet. But you have to hold on to the cargo, because once you let go of that
It's your
cargo,
collateral. Yeah.
once you let go of that cargo, if they have a wrecked highway tractor, there's value in it from salvages and whatever, but there's not going to be value anywhere near the cost of recovery.
No.
So, the government is taking steps to protect the consumer in these ways. And one of them is, you can't hold the cargo because it's but you have to, because once that cargo is gone, the company has no reason to pay me. They'll pay me my invoice. Now, that's the problem. This is something that goes into the US side of what I wanted to talk about, because they look at it as predatory towing practices. Because you are holding something hostage in order to get paid. Now, and then in their eyes, because the public does not fully understand the cost that goes into running a towing business and doing these kinds of recoveries, right? They look at it and go, not only are you holding something hostage, you are holding something hostage for unbelievably high prices that you want for a recovery.
Yeah.
Right? They don't look at that that's $1 million truck that, we needed to buy, maintain, upkeep, pay for fuel, all those costs that we all know go into the towing industry. They don't care about that. They just go, well, there's no way you can charge, let's say, $1,000 an hour for a unit like that. We go, well, yes, you can. And yes, we did. And we made we went out and made that investment and spent that money to be able to do these recoveries.
Yep.
By limiting damage, everything else, increasing safety, all that. But you want to call it predatory because you don't have a full understanding on how financially the business works. And so by holding on to the cargo, you could just see how this would be an absolute spread all over the news. Local towing company holds cargo hostage, especially if it would be something like a load of like medical supplies, right? Or could you imagine if it's anything essential, like grocery, right? Holds a load of groceries hostage. This is why the prices are going up, and refuses to release it unless paid exorbitant, unless paid 30, 40, $20,000, $30,000. And to the public, oh my God, that's so bad. The industry is such
Meanwhile,
bad
they
people.
just have to throw out the load anyways, but they need a headline.
Exactly. Meanwhile, they don't talk about the 8 to 12 hours or 8-hour recovery that this bill was in the middle of the night in the pouring rain, and the amount of resources that it took to do this, to open up one of the busiest highways in North America, and why that cost is that cost, right? So, the US is starting to see it, where they had this memo gone out about predatory towing and prices, right? They want to start limiting the towing industry on fees they can charge, right? They're talking about all these hidden fees within the towing industry. Now, this is something that we have seen a lot. And if you want more information on these fees in this program that we're discussing, or this new bill that they're drafting up in the US, because we do have a large US listener base, I suggest you head over to the Tow Business Podcast. They have a lot more information. Southwest Wrecker Operators as well did a show on this with one of the hosts from the Tow Business Podcast. I suggest you guys check that out. Again, being in Canada, we're a little less connected on it, but we can go off what we've read, what I've heard, what I've listened, what I've had a couple people talk about. So they are trying to eliminate added fees into the towing industry. Right now, that is something the Ontario government has recently done with this new TSIA program, where there's fees that you are not allowed to charge for, like border crossing fees, like fuel surcharges, all that kind of stuff. So companies have now just adopted them into their hourly rate. But there is certain fees. So I'll read kind of the headline. U.S. Department of Transportation supports strong protection for truckers against predatory towing junk fees. I love that they call them junk fees.
Yeah.
I'll pull it up here. Washington, the U.S. Department of Transportation, Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration, FMCSA. I love dealing with them. They're the people that make us do drug testing in the States. Today expressed strong support for truckers' protection against predatory towing fees in a comment filed on the Federal Trade Commission's proposed rule banning junk fees. When a truck driver's vehicle is towed, they can't earn a living until they get it back, leaving them vulnerable to predatory junk fees from towing companies. Predatory towing negatively impacts consumers, including commercial motor vehicle drivers and trucking companies. It is detrimental to overall health of the trucking industry, and it's time to end excessive rates, surcharges, and other unfair fees associated with predatory towing.
And that was from the FMCSA Acting
Yes.
Deputy Administrator Sue Lawless. I love
You
that
can-
last name. Lawless.
You can go ahead and find the links for these if we ever remember to actually do them in the description for the episode. So yeah, again, they're talking excessive fees that can add up to thousands and thousands of dollars.
Yeah, then they got a couple of bullet points down
Yeah.
below. Ban junk fees for unnecessary goods or services. The FMCSA suggests adding a provision that prohibits companies from charging any fee for any good or service that has no value, costs nothing extra to provide, or that reasonably would be assumed to be included in the upfront price of the good or service. For example, towing companies often charge equipment fees, in quotations, for using equipment that they already own and use routinely to provide the towing service.
So I'm a little, and I wish I would have done.
By that.
You need to bring your mic closer to you, by the way.
I'm scared by that.
Okay. But no, it is something. So I don't know what they mean by that equipment fee. Now, are guys just throwing a random invoice, line item on an invoice that says equipment fee and not explaining it? Are they trying to charge for specialty equipment for these towing and recoveries? You know, we talk things like the back pull hitch, the Ivor tool, bigger scale, airbags. Right? Like, I don't know what it is, the threshold they're talking about this equipment fee. Or is it that you're just doing, okay, it's $200 and it's $250 an hour for this truck. It's this, and then we're adding on a 5% equipment fee, right? I don't know how. I haven't seen the U.S. invoices in this way. Now, again, they're standing on the backs of the truckers to protect the truckers. At least that's what they're going at, right? Because it's like this, you know, is hurting the trucking industry. Well, I'm
Isn't
not
the
a US
towing
tower.
industry kind of sort of a trucking industry as well?
Well, I'm not in the US, so I can't say what's wrong with your trucking industry. I can tell you that if you start enforcing that, you know, the trucking industry has proper insurance to cover their cargo and not three-party insurance for all this kind of stuff, would probably do more to protect the towing or the trucking industry against the towing industry by having proper coverage for the services they provide, by having experienced drivers, by strictening up requirements for drivers, by doing all those kinds of things, so we don't get all these guys with 3 months experience that are going and driving tractor trailers into the rhubarb because they figured out they can't drive more than, 4 hours without falling asleep.
Yeah.
Now, the fear is that they want to be able that you can should have everything in an all-in price, right? So in other words, we should be able to call, we should be able to get an all-in price. Well, here's my problem with that. It's coming from somebody who has quoted and billed for heavy recoveries. You can't quote that up front.
No.
I can give you, and that is what Ontario has kind of asked for, which is where they have a little bit more lenience. I can give you what my units, a full list of my units and what they run at per hour. And I will keep it within these rates. But to tell me to pull up on scene, to look at a job and to flat out give a rate, first of all, I'm going to go high. If that's how it's got to be, I'm going high.
Yeah. I'm adding an extra 5 hours on everything just to be on the safe side.
You have to, because things happen. There is things that you may not see until you get partway into that recovery, right? There's all these kinds of things. So you can't give a flat rate price. Then not to mention, okay, so let's play this one out. So the company is now price shopping and getting their flat rate price. So 3 scene coordinators are all going to show up to the same rec. They're all going to look at it. They're all going to give their price. And then the company will go with the cheapest option because that's what they're concerned about here. It is not about the you know, what's going to save their cargo, what's going to do any of this stuff. It's about the cheapest price.
Yeah.
That's why you want the all-in price. And they're going to go with the cheapest one. And now we're 3 hours into this, and we still haven't moved a truck.
Yeah.
Right? The U.S. is very strict on their quick clearance projects that they have.
Mm-hmm.
Right? The state, you know, or the city, whatever it is, will require every time that it's tripped that this amount of equipment has to roll to a scene.
Mm-hmm.
Right? I seen an article on that. I want to say it was down in Georgia, where a box truck company got an invoice for, you know, whatever the number was, and they were outraged by it. Well, the problem was is that the state trooper had deemed it as a trip, with their incident response, which requires like 2 heavy wreckers, a blocker truck, and I want to say something else attend. So they moved this box truck off the highway like a mile and got it off the highway. But now you're paying for all 3 of those trucks.
Yep.
Like, they didn't build that system, right? Like, they were told if you get a call under this is what you have to respond with. So they had trucks on standby that have to meet response times. And that, okay, so it ended up being a 26-foot box truck. It wasn't a, you know, 80,000 pound loaded tractor trailer. Doesn't matter. You've got to pay for the equipment. Right? So you get this price shopping that starts going on. You get that you are going to negatively affect the quick clearance of highways. Right? Then you throw the pocket on top of that you're going to give the cheapest price. You're going to, you know, yes, there's competitiveness to it to keep us all in check, which I'm all for. But you're going to, you know, encourage the race to the bottom. And then you're going to lower your price to do the service, only to find out that they don't have proper insurance and you're not going to get paid. And you have no recourse in action to go after them to get paid.
Well, I'm also kind of concerned. Okay, so if you give the people ability to price shop around, okay, cool, whatever. They say, okay, I'm going to go with the $3,000 option instead of the $6,000 option. The $6,000 option, bigger outfit. They've got a really good record behind them. And the $3,000 option, fewer trucks, a little smaller, you know. The smaller operation that got the job for $3,000 goes out, starts the job, realizes it's out of their scope, can't finish the job. And now what do they do? Can they call another truck in from the people that charged or was going to charge $6,000? But now that wasn't agreed upon the rates originally, because now they would have to pay that. Is the company that originally got the job for $3,000 just going to have to eat that cost? Or now does the customer now have to agree to this other company's rates just to get the job done? Like, how is that going to work? And how are you going to, well, you said you could do it for $3,000 and now you can't. So now who's at fault for that? Like, and the towing industry, the one reason why most of us love it is because it keeps us on our toes. Let's say you got a tractor trailer that's hit a tree sideways, and as you're pulling it away from the tree decides to fall down in between the tractor and the trailer. Well, now that's made your recovery twice as long, because you got to remove the tree or separate the trailer and the truck to get it around from this tree. Well, yeah, it's something you could potentially try to bill for enough.
But at the end of the day,
at the end of the day, that's not a normal thing that happens, because nothing in this industry is a normal thing that happens when it comes to recovery.
But the government
That's the issue.
Yeah, the government seems to want it to be a normal set out price structure, and that is what it is. And until these lawmakers, now, you know, the US is lucky in the sense that they are just beginning to draft this bill. Right? This isn't the Ontario Association 6 months behind the ball after it comes out going, oh, right? Like, they're ahead of it. And the one thing I can say is that the American towing industry seems to stand together a little better on this stuff. They seem to have more organized, because this is at the federal level, to my understanding. This is not a state to state thing. This is at the
US
federal
law.
level. Yeah. So the advice that I can give you, if you want more information on it, because I know there's a lot going on, there's a lot of petitions that are out, there's a lot of information on that side, you can send us a private message. I will get you in touch with somebody that can better educate you on it than what you heard on this show. But I think the importance would really be to look at joining your local, state, and federal associations. Right? The TRAA is a big one in the States. Look to them for the information. Join your associations. They are going to need your help to fight this. before you end up like Ontario, where everything is regulated to hell, and we're hoping that they'll give us a bone later on down the road. Like that is what we're at. Like that's the phase that we're at. So if you guys have the opportunity to have your input, have your say, have some change made on this, check out our friends at Southwest Tow Operators on Facebook. They're the ones that hosted the show called Recovery Alley. They went over it. It was a good episode. I watched it. You can find it over on their Facebook page. I think they were on YouTube as well. I'm not sure. Or, again, the Tow Business Podcast is another great one where they share a lot of information. I've made jokes before where they're a little drier. They're geared a little bit more towards management and ownership, but it's definitely something even as a driver, you need to be aware of that you can help before it becomes too late for the industry where you're at. So.
Yeah, I think one thing America normally does good as a whole is a rally around the flag movement, right? When times get
January 6th was a perfect example. They rallied around a flag, all right.
When the going gets tough, people come together and are able to fight what they need to, right? And I think something like this, is we always talk about how the industry is so divided. Something like this is easy for companies to come together, especially in its infancy, like this is now, to say, hey, this is what's going on. This is the reason why we do certain things. I'm assuming these are coming from those people that hold cars hostage and won't release it until the bill gets over $10,000.
Yeah,
or
or
the
transport.
People,
or like
right?
us who hold cargo hostage.
Yeah,
because we want to make sure we're fairly paid, but it's
right.
Represented. Yeah,
Exactly. So it could be the bad actors in the industry, which we need to do something to be able to cut them out of the industry because we don't need them here. They're only making it worse for everyone. As you can look at Ontario, right? Just look at us as a case study for you don't want the whole
you don't want
county.
what we got going on over
No,
here.
you don't. So just get on it while it's early, stay on top of it, and don't stop fighting until you get what you deserve.
It's not all maple syrup and free healthcare, okay?
And the free
It's not
healthcare shit.
Yeah, the free healthcare is kind of shit. It's gotten more and more shit. I almost want. I've like I'll work more to make more money to pay for private healthcare at this point.
Yeah.
If it gets me there, what I need sooner.
I kind of want to move to Texas.
Oh boy.
You
look like the type that would move to
However,
Austin.
Brandon Herrera didn't win his seat in Congress, so I'm not sure if I would want to move to District 23.
I have no idea.
23.
You look like you should move to Texas.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they've had a couple cults that have gone real south down there at one point.
Perfect. I'll fit right in with my cult up here.
Yeah. So that is about all the time that we do have for today. Again, we do appreciate you guys joining us. It was fun to talk Americans and finally bag on the issues they're having rather than the ones we're having here at home. So yes, if you have, again, questions, comments, concerns for the show, visit us by heading to our website at www.towinglife.ca. Email us directly at thetowinglife@gmail.com or find us on Facebook at the Towing Life Podcast. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It should make the little thing dance, as G said. And if you are watching on the YouTube side, you can leave that comment down below. So on behalf of myself, my wonderful co-host, Mr. Towman G, we thank you for joining us for another episode of the Towing Life Podcast, and we cannot wait to see you again next time. Take care.
Toodles. I think the subscribe button only dances the once.
Boo! YouTube sucks.